Hi, welcome to the launch of issue 36, The Table of Garland magazine. And I'm speaking to you on the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. And I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to the ancestors of the land where you come from. Serendipitously, Marybeck Council, my local council, recently named a park that opened last weekend Yubip Park. And Yubip is a word in the local Woiwurrung language for a parakeet. And one of the remarkable things I've found about parakeets as birds is that they build large communal stick nests that host not only themselves, but also birds of other species. I thought it was a nice parallel to what we're doing here, although we're not looking at a nest particularly, but at the table as the place where we conduct business with each other in our organizations, associations, workshops, collectives, gatherings, where we find a common interest in what we make, what people make, and this is something which is kind of taken for granted, but is particularly precious at a time when the world is very much seeming to pull us apart in different directions, that we have something here at a local, personal, social level that brings us together, particularly in a way that's lasted many years. And it's the longevity of that which is one of the pretexts for this gathering, which is the 60th anniversary of the World Crafts Council. And I welcome members of the World Craft Council board here, Mr. Saad, the president, Dr. Koshi, Ms. Fatina Saikali, and Mr. Otumba from Nigeria. So I would also like to sadly acknowledge the dedication of this issue to Liz Williamson, a master weaver who was not only a living treasure revered in Australia for her extraordinary weaves, but also a wonderful leader in terms of her contributions around many board tables, particularly most recently World Craft Council Australia, of which she was the president, and which is a partner organisation of this magazine. So hopefully there'll be something of her spirit that lives on in the stories that we hear today. I won't say this evening because it's a different time wherever you are, as we'll hear when we listen to your thoughts on the stories that you've written. I recommend that if you have any comments, feel free to use the chat if you'd like to respond to what people are saying. We've got a lot to get through in a short hour, so we won't have a lot of time for discussion, but I hope there might be a moment for conversation at the end as we reflect on what we've heard. And I'd just like to acknowledge Robin Phelan, the guest editor for this issue, and invite Robin to say a couple of words about how she's found this issue of Garland.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you, Kevin, and hello, everybody. I'm sharing the same country as Kevin, Wurundjeri land, here in Melbourne or Naarm, and I have shared many tables with Kevin face to face over the years. So unlike for many of the readings that we're seeing, we're doing this digitally and imagining everyone gathering together with purpose. And I say Wominjenka, which is welcome in Wurundjeri language, and particularly that interestingly, this issue, when reading through what Kevin pulled together in the interviews that I did as well, is that we are coming together with a purpose. And interestingly and importantly, we're coming together with making with materials and making with skills and techniques for longevity, for sharing, for continuity, and for care of each other. And that really shone through in many of the articles. And so I do hope you enjoy the issue. I really enjoyed putting it together, and it was really enjoyable working with Kevin. And I've worked with him formally at two associations, the Museums Association of Victoria and the Craft Association. And we also worked pulling together a collection of craft and called Bluestone Collection, which is written about in this issue too. So do enjoy, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you all. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks very much, Robin. I'll start sharing the screen now, and we can go through the wonderful articles in this particular issue, starting, of course, with an image that I'm particularly fond of, Liz Williamson with Ismail Khatri, one of her many visits to India, as well as being very important in Australia. She brought together through her tours and workshops and collaborations wonderful partnerships with artisans in India. Now, I think first up on this list, we go over to Western Australia, to the JMGA WA, to Tineke van der Eken, who will tell us about this very important organisation as part of the Jewellers and Metalsmiths Group of Australia. Tineke, are you there?
Yes, Kevin, thank you very much. And thanks so much for allowing us to contribute to this issue. It's really an auspicious time in that WA is hosting the National Jewellery Conference next month on the 4th of October. And as JMGA WA, we are one of 3 remaining JMGAs. But in this article, we've been able to sort of give some shed some light on the beginnings of all of this, which was in 1980, January 1980. And there have been many conferences. Every second year, there was a national conference hosted by one of the JMGAs. There was a national JMGA at some point, which lasted a couple of decades. There was also all the regional JMGAs, which have thrived over many years and have been a basis for contemporary jewelers and metalsmiths to really find a community, to find award exhibitions and judges and curators and speakers and opportunities to share their work. And it's just been, so from a WA perspective, I could say that it has put a lot of jewelers on the map worldwide and in Australia. And for, you know, WA, it's not always easy to get our artists known somewhere else, but JMGA has been an incredible vehicle for communication and sharing of craft and knowledge and excellence. And it's just been, it's a pleasure for me to share this with you. And I've had the pleasure to work with Jackie Sprogo, who has been in JMGA from the very early days, and she has been able to write about the beginnings of it. So I hope you enjoy this article, and some of you might be able to fly over and be a part of our national conference next month. That would be wonderful.
Great, and maybe even catch a glimpse of Indian Ocean Craft Triennial if it's still on, which is certainly
we've managed to coincide the two, which is great, because there's an absolute plethora of offerings in terms of exhibitions and events. Yeah.
Good. Thanks very much, Tineke. Well, I'm not used to doing this, but the next article happens to be the one that I wrote, which came about because we were certainly keen to have a story from Craft Victoria, but a couple of writers fell through. So I then put together a kind of a subjective history, looking at involvement in a number of different organizations, and remarking on the 60th anniversary of the World Craft Council. This is one of the historic tables around which various members representing regions of the world gathered to form the council in 1964. And what I sought to do in this was to reflect on something that happens at the kind of grassroots level, which is the subcommittee, although boards obviously play a key role, and World Craft Council does in terms of advocating, particularly at the level of intergovernmental relations, such as UNESCO and so on. The involvement of makers and craftspeople in something like the exhibition committee, for me, says something particular about the way in which craft is a kind of confederacy of different media. And in this instance, in the committee, what I found is that generally we would have a series of proposals where there would be more than could be put into the program for the gallery. So there'd be a process of reviewing it in terms of making sure the different media were represented fairly, and that the exhibitions seemed to be of interest, but at some point we would all defer to the specialist. So a ceramicist might talk about the particular glaze, a jeweler might talk about the kind of soldering on the metal or the jewelry, and we would try and balance the sort of general interest with this privileged knowledge that we respected of the maker. And it was this kind of conversation that I thought was very much at the heart of the organization, as a coming together of different groups, really, within the crafts. And like most confederacies, it's this listening to each other which seemed to give the organization's particular strength. And although people come and go on organizations, we'll hear later about the Bluestone collection, which is a kind of a version of the exhibition subcommittee, but developed outside of the institutions as a collective, which I thought was quite a nice way of continuing on that conversation in other ways. Now let's go to South Africa, and I believe Rosh Supersad, I hope I've said your name correctly, is here from Ceramics Southern Africa. Rosh, are you there?
Hi, everybody. Yes, I am. And you did say that correctly. Thank you very much. So, shall I just go for it?
Go. Yes.
Okay. So as we all know, ceramics has such an unbroken history across time and space that connects us, I think, all to the earth and to each other in this unbroken tradition over time. In South Africa, in particular, ceramics has such a long history, from basically prehistory to the original dwellers of this place, to the colonial period, then apartheid, and the current contemporary period. So in this article, I hope to give a little bit about that history and how we try to transform this organization that was only for a privileged few just a few decades ago into something that's relevant and ties in with this resurgence of ceramics across the world now. And the invitation to contribute this article actually came at quite an opportune time, because we were just preparing for a regional biennale. So I had a lot of materials like at hand, and so I just had to put them together. So it was very fortuitous. So thanks for that. So in the article, and I hope it would help others who are running arts and crafts organizations, some of the strategies that we've learned and failed over the years. And we found in particular now the young generation are very much also, traditionally it's been like pottery and the craft and handed down from master to apprentice. And now it's very much becoming a part of the fine arts and contemporary art scene. So we focused a lot on exhibitions, some juried, others themed. And I explain a bit about that in this article. Yeah, and the other thing that we feel now is to branch out and build relationships with like people such as yourselves and organizations across the world, to just grow the arts of ceramics, not only in South Africa, but globally.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Rosh. And now we go across to the other side of the world to Mia. Mia, are you here from New Zealand, or maybe you're even still in Melbourne, Maria Straka?
Kia ora koutou. I'm speaking to you from New Zealand, from Mount Roskill, Puketapapa in Auckland. Yes, I wrote an article about Workshop 6, which is a workshop I'm a partner in and is celebrating our 30th anniversary this year, although it's actually our 31st year of operation this year. 30 years of teaching community classes. Yeah, and we are celebrating, we've done an installation in the foyer of local gallery object spaces outside courtyard, which is comprised of about 500 to 600 copper rings to symbolize our long history of teaching jewelry to the public and basic metalworking skills. We start generally by teaching a copper ring, and so we taught probably about 7 workshops actually to the public to teach people how to make a ring that they could then contribute to this installation, as well as taking one home, and many jewelers contributed as well to the project. So the article is writing a little bit about the history of the workshop. This is the 4 of us that are partners in the workshop now. And yeah, many of New Zealand's significant contemporary jewelers have come through Workshop 6, and it's gone through a few iterations. This is one of its longest standing studios. I say in the article, it's a little bit like a clubhouse, and we've moved into new premises in the last 4 years, and it's a little bit cleaner and tidier probably, but still with just as much to offer to the public. So it's a beautiful thing, the community that we've built up over those many years of teaching. Hundreds of people, if not thousands, have been through the doors to learn how to make jewelry. Some have gone on to contemporary jewelry or jewelry careers. Others are makers in various realms. Some people come along to have a hobby and to meet people, and many come for repeating years. And so, yeah, it builds up a really lovely community, which we're very grateful for, and also serves as a jewelry studio for those of us working there, and a part-time job for us as well. So yes, thanks for helping us to mark 30 years and sharing this article alongside the other things that we're doing this year to celebrate.
Thanks very much, Mia, and thanks for being such a terrific story keeper, keeping us informed of what's happening in Aotearoa, New Zealand as well. Now we go across, this is very dizzying navigation of the world. Now we go across to the Orkney Islands, to Jane Cooper, who unfortunately can't be with us, but shared a video which I hope works properly and you can hear her speak.
Hello, I'm Jane Cooper, author of The Lost Flock, and I'm speaking to you from my farm in Orkney, where you can probably hear it's quite a breezy day today.
I guess you're not hearing anything, is that right?
My voice is coming above the sound of the wind, and hopefully you can see some of my sheep in the background. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person, but if all goes well, by the time you're watching this, I should be on a flight home from a conference in the Faroe Islands, a sheep and wool conference, where I've been speaking about my flock and the wool we produce. So it was the wool that got me into this journey, that turned me from an English housewife into an Orkney farmer. I hope what you can read will give you a little idea about what wool means to me in my life, wool crafting, the importance to me of spinning and weaving, knitting, creating things with wool. And I hope that you too can learn to enjoy creating with wool. Thank you.
Wonderful. It's one of the wonderful things about the platform Garland is the stories that come in from all over the world, sharing the pride of what's made and particularly where people work together, such as in the Orkneys. Now come to Richard King, who represents informally an organisation even older than Arena Magazine, sorry, even older than World Craft Council, which is Arena Magazine, founded in Melbourne in 1963, which is a very important source of thinking about issues of technology which are very relevant to craft. Richard, are you there?
I am. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Richard. Would you like to speak to your article, even though it's about an individual? I think it says a lot about the nature of society today.
Yes, absolutely. So my article's about an artist over here in Fremantle, Simon Gilby. He's also a friend of mine. He got in touch with me after I published a book last year called Here Be Monsters, which is about technology and how it's, especially new and emerging technologies, and how it's affecting us in our deepest being. Including in our creativity and our sense of agency, of course. It seems as if the world is becoming a sort of black box. He reached out to me after he read that because it went to a lot of the stuff that he was trying to do in his work. And he's a genuine craftsman, and his figures, his sculptures really give expression to some of these ideas of a humanity, I suppose, that's becoming in some sense very abstract, dematerialized. There's a wonderful figure, you're putting some of them up now, there's absolutely beautiful pieces, but there's one of an architect with its sort of head in a sort of angular cage, and it's sort of staring at its scuffed hands in sort of despair. Very beautiful. The Arena view, if just say a sentence or two about that, is that I mean it emerged at the time of the New Left in the 1960s and 1970s. You'll have come across some of the writers that write for it. Guy Rundle and Crikey, Australians will know, I'm sure. And really the idea was to try and rethink social theory from a slightly different perspective. Thinking about technology, thinking about things like the importance of community, craft, creativity, that sort of thing. For us, the central contradiction, if you like, of modern life is not that between labor and capital anymore, although that's still there, of course, but between the idea of an embodied community with a sense of settlement, face-to-face relations, and so on, and a very abstracted, instrumentalized, ungrounded existence, the kind of existence that you get in global northern societies such as ours. So that's so I'm channeling some of those ideas in the piece, but it's really about Simon and his practice, which is stunning.
Thanks very much, Richard, and I certainly recommend Here Be Monsters. Obviously, the artificial intelligence phenomenon is something that will affect the crafts in various ways, and so it's important that we try and get a grasp on it, and that book is a very important way of doing it. I think we've got Jane Bowden here.
Jane Bowden, yeah, hi.
Bowden, sorry.
No, that's all right.
Yes, another important jewelry workshop and gallery that is in Adelaide, South Australia. And so we're very pleased to share the story of it. Would you like to tell us about Zoo Design?
Yeah, hi. Zoo Design started many years ago. It's 27 years old now. We started after we'd had some time finishing university. There were 4 of us that needed to find a space to work from. So originally we worked from a house, and then we moved to the Jam Factory, and then from the Jam Factory we found our location in Gaze Arcade, off Adelaide Arcade. And over the years, I guess when we started, we filled the workshop, the gallery, with all of our own pieces. But over time, and as I've taken over the business, I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly how long. It was about 15, 17 years maybe that I've been running Zoo Design. And I'd like to think of it as an inclusive space where I represent a number of different makers, 130 at the moment. And it's been an exciting time here in Adelaide. There's been a couple of contemporary jewellery exhibitions that we were involved in, one at the Jam Factory alongside Julie Blyfield, who was the Jam Factory icon for this year. And I guess I'm pretty passionate about supporting all the makers. So to coincide with the Jam Factory exhibition, we did an installation and worked out that we've actually represented about 332 different makers over the 27 years that we've been here. And the show that we've just completed at Zoo Design was about the people that we've represented letting us know, or having the opportunity to tell us how they were connected to Zoo Design and how they came to exhibit with us, which was very interesting because there's a lot of connections to universities in Adelaide, TAFE in Adelaide, but also wider interstate. And I really value our jewellery community and like to support it all the way.
Right. Thank you and congratulations, Jane.
Thanks.
Terrific. And I make no secret of hoping that one day Adelaide will put itself forward as a world craft city, given the amount of excellent craft that occurs there. So next we go to a very special article that came through by Mohammed Shahnawaz Khan. Yes, you are there. Would you like to make yourself visible, Mohammed, if you're able to? Or can you speak to your article? Mohammed's speaking to us, I think, from Bangladesh. I'll just put up the article anyway. Hello. Can you speak to us, Mohammed? Mohammed's article is about a village where house decoration is practiced by the Hindu population, and he talks about how it's appreciated by the majority Muslim population. It's the village of Chepaina Wab Ganj in Bangladesh, and it's as I say, in terms of the world pulling us apart, at a time of increasing division, it's very heartening to see the way in which the village brings people together. And I'll just show some of Mohammed's beautiful photos of this village and its wall decoration. And as you can see, there are very elaborate captions for those images. So I certainly encourage you to look into this important story. So sorry you can't speak to us. It's a long way, I know, from Bangladesh, but I'm pleased you could be with us, Mohammed, and congratulations on your article and quite moving images that we see here. Okay. Next, I think we would go to Chris Kocius from the Australian Tapestry Workshop. Chris, greetings.
Hi, Kevin. Hello to everyone. My article is very definitely a personal view. I'm not management at the workshop, but I have been a weaver there since 1983, apart from a few periods of leave. So really, I'm talking purely as a a weaver, so it's to do with process, to do with interpretation, collaboration, and really to do with mentorship as well, which is the most recent part of what I tend to do. I'm very definitely now a senior weaver. I've been at the workshop since 1983, and I think it's really important that what we do as people who've been there for slightly longer can actually pass on not just the knowledge and skill base, which is really important, but also sort of the nuances and history of what we do, and what makes us who we are. I think it's really important that all of those things are passed on. So I hope you enjoy my article. It really is just a very personal view of my time at the workshop.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really recommend this article because Chris does what many successful writers in Garland do, which is to take us on a journey, and it's the journey of a weaver over time, in and out of an organization, certainly which is highly regarded and is one of the jewels of Melbourne, if not Australia. So now we go to a different, more peripatetic kind of weaving by Anna Petitas. Anna, are you there?
Sorry, yes, hi. Hello from Wadawurrung country, or country Victoria, Ballarat. I wrote an article about how my practice as a multi-shaft weaver has been enriched through associations like the Hand Weavers and Spinners Guild of Victoria, which is also celebrating its 70th anniversary in Melbourne and in Carlton, where it's based. And also how that's, I guess, just how association with others and community and connection and collectives have really enriched all of my practice and led me to, to have many interesting opportunities, commissions, those sorts of things in my practice. So there's two that I focus on in the article. One is weaving some upholstery fabric for a historical chair that was designed and owned by Walter Burley Griffin in his personal home whilst living here in Melbourne. And the other is sort of a collective of sort of RMIT alumni, students, teaching staff, and our broader community coming together to rescue a piece of weaving equipment, which is a computer-aided, hand-operated jacquard loom that you see there on the screen now. So just because of some changing priorities that education institutes have these days, it was kind of slated to be moved on, possibly to landfill, and we collectively got together and rescued it, and slowly but surely restoring it so that it can be fully operational again and used by the community more broadly of creatives and designers and makers.
Right. Thank you so much for that inspiring epic story. I'm sure Liz Williamson would have been thrilled with a story like that. And a lovely compliment to the Australian Tapestry Workshop story there. Next, I think we go to Basket Makers of Victoria. Jan, I saw your name there. Would you like to join us? Welcome, Jan.
Oh,
Another
thank you.
illustrious
Thanks, Kevin.
organisation.
Yes, so I'm also on Wurundjeri lands, like yourself and Robin, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Basket Makers is almost 40 years old. The first meeting was held in February 1986 at the Meat Market Craft Centre. People may remember that, but it came to a fairly quick end the meat market in relation to funding issues. And in 1999, all tenants were denied entry. So Wendy Golden, who's an amazing weaver and a BOV Life member, approached her local park, which is Wattle Park, approached Parks Victoria to see if we could, as in the Basket Makers of Victoria, could use a couple of buildings there. And in February 2000, the key was formally handed over to us. Multi-day gatherings have been a bit of a thing with the organisation. So the first one was with the Interstate Group of South Australia, and now national gatherings are held every couple of years. Pandemics allowing, you know, as they go, and the event moves around states. We go to various events to showcase basketry, and most recently of this year it's been Lost Trades Fair in Bendigo, the Sovereign Hill Heritage Harvest Weekend in Ballarat, and the Melbourne Craft and Quilt Fair. BOV members have been involved in quite a few memorable projects. They were making bomb baskets for the Australian War Memorial in Canberra. They've made monkey baskets for the Melbourne Zoo. These were suspended and food was put inside them so that the monkeys had sort of more stimulation to get their food. And they also participated in Patrick Doherty's stick work in Federation Square. Some people may have seen that. And most recently, we've been working on Reclaim the Void, and BOV members have contributed over 91 rag rugs to that project over in WA. We have biannual member exhibitions and encourage members to show their creations. Our next one will be our 40th anniversary year in 2026. And really, as with most traditional crafts, basketry skills are becoming increasingly rare and really require a bit of a concerted effort to keep them alive.
Great.
That's it from me.
Thanks so much, Jan. And we've got a link to that wonderful article about the monkey baskets, which was previously published in Garland. And it's a good example of how organisations, particularly the guilds, play a function outside the guild. Often they are involved in events and projects that have a broader public appeal. Now, Mohammed, are you able to join us or say something?
Hello.
Hello, yes. Greetings.
Yes.
Can you turn your camera on? Where are you at the moment?
Okay, can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay. Can you please show my work?
Okay.
Okay. So I can talk with my project. So right now, my phone, actually my phone is damaged. I lost my phone and I lost my laptop also. So if you hear me, so I can speak. Forget about my face.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay. This project I have started in the year 2021 after COVID-19, or you can say in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, I have started another project. One is Life in the Cage, about my family, and another project it was a conceptual. So it was a very horrible time on that period about my personal project. So I realized some fresh air to start talking about in color. So I chose this project Alpana. This project is like colorful, beautiful, but there is a emotion, there is a taboo and faith, you can say cultural tradition. There is some people, some community who try to remain their culture. in the time of modern civilization period. You know, many villagers, many people leave their village to the city, to the modern city, to the modern family, to the modern culture, and many people lost or forget their own culture. But there is some few community who try to remain their faith, remain their taboo, remain their status, remain their background story. This project is kind of them. And I know there is also a few community who tried to fight in the modern civilization period, like some Indian community and some African community. So the religion, the religious like Hindu, Muslim, Christian, many people fight each other, but there is a different story. You know, Hindu and Muslim live together with peace, and there is a, I hope, and there is a lot of community in Africa. There is a Muslim and Christian live peacefully through their own culture, through their own tradition. So I started this project 2-3 years ago. So I want to work more in Africa and India. So the message is we can't forget our background, and we can't forget our tradition. So in my early childhood, I was able to see my own uncle's marriage. So there I was found Alpana in my own home. So it's almost 30 years ago. And after that, I haven't found any Alpana in my home, in my own village. So it's mean once upon a time, Alpana, it was remain in my own home and my own village also. But after that, the modern civilization, we forget everything. So I think the community, the rural people, there is a few, some community are fighting to make this tradition visually. Thanks,
Okay,
everyone.
thank you. Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
everyone.
Mohammed, for that very important message and for sharing it. And I hope you get to share your story from Africa as well in a future issue that could be quite important. Good luck with the work you do. Now from another story related to conflict, Natalia Moravsky, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good. Natalia is fresh from the opening at the Ukrainian Museum of Australia of a wonderful performance with Eva Obinga, who's featured in this magazine previously.
It was Collection and Connection, which was a great name actually right now from what we're going through. You know,
Sure.
the collection was connecting. Right. So my article is about volunteerism and volunteers within our organisations, especially well, as all communities, all organisations, it's basically volunteers. Whether I'm also on the board of the museum board, and that's all run by volunteers. And I'm the actual costume person. They give us me fancy names, you know, but in actual I'm just in charge of costumes for a group called Lahanda. Lahanda is a Ukrainian dance ensemble, which is just celebrated its 10th anniversary. But I have been involved extensively with costumes and volunteering since volunteering in regards to costumes since 1974 when I moved to Melbourne from Adelaide. And while I was in Adelaide, I taught dancing, and I taught dancing here, and that's how I connected with all of this. Now, it's been a very unusual journey for me, because when I was with Verkhovena, which was another dance group which I actually used to teach, the costumes were basically just getting a certain Ukrainian costume, designing it, and because it's a little bit different having a costume, a Ukrainian traditional costume, and a costume that is actually for dance. That you have to try to make it look the same on stage, but it has to be practical that the girls and boys can dance in it. We're very, very fortunate since Lahanda started, and I have to admit, it's my daughter's company. She does big, huge productions, not only Ukrainian traditional dancing, but she does productions. So that means there is a lot of work involved with craft, as you can see, designing headpieces, designing costumes that work. We've actually been our biggest problem is, of course, materials here in Australia, but we've been very fortunate that we've had collaboration with fashion designers as well, on a voluntary basis. Some of these photos also, you can see that the volunteers in the other lot of photos, you could see little green leaves. My son's a professional set designer in New York, and he's been designing all the sets. So all of the sets are made also by volunteers. With the dancers cut out something like 4,000 little leaves to go on to the back of this set, or the sets that drop down. So we're a sort of like we do everything with our volunteers. We've got a set of probably 15 to 20 set volunteers that are always either that they do the headpieces or the sets, and about 10 that sew. And most of them aren't professional dressmakers at all. We've only got probably 3 professional dressmakers in our mix. When I say professional dressmakers, that are women that have worked in the trade prior to working with Lahanda. So it's a really hard, it's hard to sort of bring our proper Ukrainian costumes into reality here in Australia, because the materials are all, as I said, the actual fabrics, the fabrics are different. You could probably see behind, that's still the leftover from the last concert, which I haven't put away. I've got over 3,000 pieces in our house, actually. Ukrainian, anybody that is familiar with our Ukrainian costumes, the Ukrainian costume involves actually every facet of craft that we talk about. We talk about the jewelry, which is, we've got jewelers. Well, we don't have them here, unfortunately, but the actual jewelry with the money, attached to it and all of that's all part of the costume. We've got weavers that weave the skirt's woven. Very much, actually, the young lady from Ballarat, I thought, oh my God, I hope she's not expensive. What a great thing. I might get her to design something. And so all of these things, the whole components, we've got boot makers. Our boots are made in Ukraine, actually. They're made by a group, which is a government organization, which actually makes boots for Vivsky, which is the famous Ukrainian dance company. My daughter used to dance with them, but they also make boots at the moment for our armies or our fighting men. So everything is all, as I said, every concept of our costume is actually someone that does craft. Whether it's the hand embroidery, unfortunately, you can see behind me that shirt, that's braid, it's not hand embroidered. It's not practical for us to hand embroider 40 shirts. But then again, we've got other things that Kevin saw on Saturday, costumes that have just arrived from Ukraine, from a place called Kolomea. Beautiful, although they're machine done, but beautiful craftsmanship. I don't know whether Kevin will agree with me, but
Yes, certainly, Natalia. We'll have to move on.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'll move along.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
it's all our organization is also all about volunteering. Even though it's a semi-professional dance group, everything is done on a volunteer basis, and that's what our article was about, volunteering basis.
Yeah, and it's impressive, despite the war in Ukraine, that the people you're working with are still able to produce so much that ends up celebrating Ukrainian culture in the other side of the world. So thank you so much,
A
Natalia,
pleasure.
for that. And
Pleasure.
people can look at the video to see the costumes in action. Now, Jane Tho, you're still with us, I see. Wonderful.
Yes. Hi, thanks, Kevin. I just wanted to say I can really feel Liz's spirit here tonight. There's a few people I know that would know her well. And before I started, I just wanted to say that there are 2 exhibitions coming up that Liz was curating, one in Ararat Gallery and one at the Barometer Gallery in Sydney, so people can go along and see her work and that of the other people who she was curating for. So I'm talking about a tablecloth that actually resulted in the establishment of an arts organisation called Textiles Sydney. This tablecloth I started when I had an exhibition in 2015, and I wanted to have something that would engage the people that came into the exhibition so that they would engage with each other. So it's basically an old linen sheet that I bought in a market in France, and it's been embroidered by hundreds and hundreds of people since that first day in 2015 at the exhibition. The people who came to that little workshop at the exhibition wanted to continue. They had such a great time doing it, so they wanted to keep it going. And so I invited them into my studio, which was at the Primrose Park Art and Crafts Centre in Sydney. And we met monthly, and people would just come and sew a little bit and have a chat. And it was always about the process, not the outcome. So it's like the tablecloth that will never be finished, because it's about people getting together and forming friendships around a common idea. I got the idea actually from Annika Ekdahl, who's an incredible tapestry weaver from Sweden. She has done a similar thing. So this organisation, Textiles Sydney, started only in, I think I established it in 2019, just before the COVID pandemic, and it started really small, just with a few of us, because I had to move out of my studio at Primrose Park Art and Crafts Centre, but the local council said, if you want to keep the community project going, the tablecloth project, you can go next door into the General Arts and Crafts Centre, out of which worked 5 different craft groups. So to do that, I couldn't be an individual. I had to form an organisation, and that's why I formed Textiles Sydney, just to keep this community project going. And the Primrose Park Art and Crafts Centre has 5 other amazing craft groups too, an incredible paper making operation with amazing equipment, a photography group. We've got the largest darkroom in New South Wales there. There's a group of artists. The New South Wales basket weavers are there, and also the Australian Society of Calligraphers. So we're in really good company there. And yeah, I think that's just about all I wanted to say, Kevin.
Thanks, Jane, and thanks certainly for making us an iconic image of the table with the embroidery on it, which perfectly represents this issue.
No problem.
And finally, we come to Amelia Black, who wrote about a very interesting transition of the Australian Ceramics Association and its figurehead, Vicky Grima. Amelia, what did you find out in writing this article?
Well, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Robin, for the invitation to write about Vicky. As an American coming to Australia and trying to connect into the craft community, connecting into organizations and associations was a first step. And one of the people I connected to in that journey was Vicky Grima, who for a long time headed up the Australian Ceramics Association. And it was through her championship, I just got to witness what she was doing for the community. And it was through COVID and all the changes, she started to host these online places for people to come together during COVID and connect through positive and negative experiences. And out of that actually came a group that Robin and I are both a part of, which is Clay Matters. And so I just wanted to reflect and champion and celebrate the work of one person in a large association that really allows craft to thrive and allows us. So these are the 11Zs. These were the the tea moments that they would host during the pandemic when, well, in Melbourne, we were locked down for quite a long time. But yes, thank you for the opportunity to celebrate someone who has really gifted so much to the Australian ceramics community.
Great. Thank you very much, Amelia. I'm just checking to see if we haven't left anyone out. Is anyone? I've looked through the names and I can't see anyone there. Now, as we've learnt through working around this vertical table of Zoom, that it's nice, even though we can't go off and have a drink or a cup of tea together afterwards, that we do commemorate it with a screenshot together. So if you've got your cameras ready, oh, Khushbu, lovely to see you from India, from Kutch. Yes, from Kutch. And Mary from Ireland, wonderful to see you too. Oh, Rachna, we didn't hear from, sorry, didn't see you. Do you want to speak to your article?
Yeah, I can just quickly give a roundup of it. I represent Map Academy, which is an online platform dedicated to South Asian arts and crafts and in South Asian art history. I contributed an essay to this issue of Garland, which sought to present an overview of how artists had organized themselves in ancient and medieval India along the lines of profession, caste and kinship, as in patronage. To a great extent, when we look at Indian art history and architecture, we know it primarily through the lens of a patron, not so much the hands that actually accomplished these structures and these art forms. So this essay hoped to show that organizations were, that artists and guild-like organizations were actually very active patrons in shaping religion, in art and trade, and how they use these networks to create new social identities and privileges in a very complex caste system. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And it's wonderful to work in partnership with Map Academy in Bangalore, a great source of excellent writing and scholarship. So thank you so much for that. Okay, if you'd like to compose your best Zoom face for our screenshot, which we'll share, I'll count it down. Mohammed, we can see you. Finally, wonderful. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you. Okay, now we've come to the hour, but if